Good evening. My name is Alexander Tessero, and this is my individual video project for Professor Kalim's Mobile Device Forensics Engineering course at FIU. My project is entitled iPhone Data Extraction. My project has three different objectives. My first objective will be to show you how to extract data from your iPhone using different programs. My second objective will be to show you different ways to view this data once you've extracted it. And finally, my third objective is to show you how to use this data in a practical and efficient manner. I'll be showing you three different file types over the course of this video. The first file type that I will show you is a plist or property list file. This kind of file stores the user settings in the iPhone along with bundle and application information. And you can find a lot of different plist files for different applications on the iPhone. The next file that I will show you is a .db or database file. These files also have critical information on them. Can be viewed through Notepad or WordPad. They're formatted for Windows, and it's usually stored in a table format with multiple fields. And lastly, I will be showing you SQLite files. These files are similar to database files, except they are created through the SQLite library and are viewed and edited using different applications. And I will touch on these files only briefly. The programs I've utilized for this project are iBackup Extractor, a plist editor for Windows, Google Maps, WordPad, SQLite Manager add-on for Firefox, and finally Wondershare DrFone, which I will show you a simple extraction. Alright, and for the purposes of this video, the computer that I'm using is operating system Windows 7 Professional, and the iPhone I will be using is an iPhone 4 with iOS 6.1. So we'll begin by plugging in the iPhone and starting up iBackup Extractor. Now, when a backup of the device is actually made, it shows it here. It shows you the device name, the date, and the timestamp. Keep in mind that the timestamp for this program is actually off by quite a few hours. So that being said, you will go to Devices, click on Backup, and it will first locate the device we're trying to back up. It found my device, the device name, the device type, and the OS version. And now we continue to make a backup. And also keep in mind that you can use this device for any kind of Apple product as well, such as iPods or also iPads. And just be sure that you have enough memory to save everything once the backup is finished. So now we see that this backup has been finished at this time, but again the timestamp is off a little bit, so we're going to go to Backup Explorer. These are all the files that we now have, and within this are stored SQLite files, DB files, plist files, and many other different file types for different types of data. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get these files off of the extractor and into my computer where I can actually view them. So we're going to click Copy Selection to, and we're going to put these files in a folder on the desktop called Backup Data, which is located right here. And while it's doing that, I'm going to actually show you what the files look like when viewed from the extractor. The first files that I'm going to show you here, or the first data that I'm going to show you here, are the call logs. Now, the way these call logs are displayed are like this, in a column format. And if we were to click on a specific contact, it shows you the contact that made the call, or the contact that was involved in the call, I should say. This arrow tells you whether the call was received or outgoing. A right arrow means the call was received, even though it says received for all of them, but you have to really look at the arrow to see what kind of call this was. So this was a received call from this contact on this day, and it tells you exactly how long the call duration is for. And if a contact has multiple calls, then this message will be shown multiple times. And again, here all of these calls are incoming. Now I'm going to show you images that have been stored on the iPhone. Now, I want you to keep in mind that these images are not actually saved on the iPhone. These are images that were actually sent to the user through text messages as attachments. So, none of the pictures that you see here were actually saved. They were just stored on the iPhone or sent there as attachments. So these are actually photos that were taken from external sources, from cameras or from other iPhones. And now I'm going to show you the internet browsing history of this phone. As you can see, this user of this phone earlier today, I guess, was looking up the Burma They were looking up their FIU mail, and they were looking up their grades for operating systems on this website. So this is all done very easily. And if you click it, it'll show you the actual web page if you viewed it from the internet. So it shows you the vMoodle page, and here it shows you the login page for FIU mail. And lastly, I'm going to show you messages. Messages are displayed much like phone calls in a typical format. You just simply click on the message, and it tells you the number, when said message was sent with the timestamp, and whether the messages are received or outgoing. So we have all of this here, and we have, of course, the messages themselves. So now that I've shown you all of the important data, we're going to go back to Backup Explorer and see that the backup has actually finished. So we're going to now go to Backup Data. And as I mentioned before, I'm going to start by showing you a plist file. So we're going to go to Documents, and we're going to go to Purchases V2, and we're going to go to Order 2012 May 25th. This is an order that this user actually made on their iPhone. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to scroll down a little bit and see what this purchase is all about. If we go here, we see our web page for this purchase is images.fandango.com, and if we look here, these were actually movie tickets that were purchased for Men in Black 3 in IMAX. And if we go, and it shows us here Men in Black 3 in IMAX 3D experience. And if we go a little further, it shows us the description of the movie. Basically what it's showing us here is all relevant data related to the web page or the website where this purchase was made. And another cool trick that I will show you is if we do Control F and we type in LAT, let's see, what we're looking for is an information called lat, or latitude. Here we have latitude and longitude. These are actual coordinates that can be put into Google Maps. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to copy it, we're going to open Firefox, go to google.com, and we're going to go to Google Maps, and we're going to type that coordinate in, and now we're going to go back to plist, get the longitude, which is -80, and do a search. And we see that the user was actually very close to Sunset Place, if not at Sunset Place, when they purchased these tickets. So we can see not only what these tickets were purchased for, but we can see the actual location where they were purchased. Very convenient. And if we scroll just a little further, we get all the relevant information for the theater that it was purchased at. Sunset Place, AMC 24, the address, phone number, and zip code. And lastly, if we go to the bottom, we have the user's email address, their registered email account for which these tickets were purchased. So now we have all this information about the user. We have where they were when they purchased the tickets, the theater they purchased the tickets for, the movie they purchased them for, and their email address. So as a hacker, the most obvious thing would be to send messages, send spam to their there address. Another thing that you could try is sending a fake message to the email address claiming to be the theater, and ask that and tell them, hey, that there was a critical error in your purchase and that you need to come back to the theater to resolve this issue. And of course that would be, if this purchase was done more recently, say, and if the person was, actually fell for something like this. The point is, now we have their information, so now we can use this to, mess with them, I guess you could say. So that's what a general plist file displays for you. Next, we're going to view a DB, or a database file. So now we're going to go into Library, and we're going to go to Call History, and click on callhistory.db. And I'm already configured to open this with WordPad, but for those of you who are not, and who have Windows, you right-click, Open With, and you would navigate to WordPad. So this is showing you database files, and it says SQLite format because, as I said before, you know, SQLite and DB are very similar, and on the iPhone they're tied together very closely. Now, as you can see, because I'm just viewing mostly raw data here, a lot of it is partially encrypted, or it has symbols that can't be processed by WordPad. But if we just scroll down just a little bit past the raw data, we have all the phone numbers that you saw previously in the call logs. So you see that you know, we have all these contact numbers. It doesn't display the information that we saw before, such as the call duration, whether the call was received or incoming, but it gives you the numbers that were in this person's contacts. So now we have more critical information that we can use. So that's DB files and what they show you if you open them with WordPad. And of course, if you want to see the full length of this data, I would recommend looking for a more sophisticated program with which to open them. And lastly, I'm going to show you, let's see, the SQLite file. But I'm going to show you this using Firefox. So we're going to open Mozilla Firefox, and we're going to go to Tools. Be sure you have this installed beforehand. So we have SQLite Manager, and we are going to click on Open. We're going to navigate to our folder, Backup Data, Library, Accounts, and Accounts SQLite 3. And as we can see here, we have access options. Everything here is organized through tables, just like with the database file. We have the account, and we have the user account that this iPhone is registered for, falcon5134 at yahoo.com. If we click on account type, this person has a Twitter, LinkedIn, CallDav, and a Facebook and a Yelp account all registered here. And of course, all the other relevant data that is actually present here is just shows you how much of this data there is. There are 5 different supported types, one supported data class. And of course the metadata, which gives you a certain value. So that is, and that's my brief touching on the SQLite files, because these kind of files are very restrictive. It's very difficult to get information from them. So I'm going to leave that for another time. And lastly, I'm going to show you a different program that you can extract your files with. I'm going to show you Wondershare DrFone. This works in a similar manner to iBackup Extractor, except this software actually requires that you put your phone in DFU mode, or device firmware upgrade mode. As you can see, I still have the phone plugged in, and this requires you to put your device into DFU mode. So you hold down both buttons for 10 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then release this one, and then hold this for 15 more seconds. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And now we click Start Scan, and it says commuting with your iOS device for scan. Please wait. And once we have this up and running, this will actually give us a complete and more detailed log of all the files that are located within the iPhone. Basically everything that we saw before, but with all the important details that we missed out on, as opposed to just you know, looking at the raw data through a WordPad file. So we are now at 90% complete. And as I mentioned, this is just data for, like, if you want a simple extraction, not data where you would have to, like, literally hack into someone's phone or, you know, hack their password or whatever. So now that we have that, I'm going to show you all the different types of data real quickly that are stored on this phone, and how they relate to the extraction. Alright, so now that we have finished uploading all of our data into Wondershare DrFone, I'm going to show you real quickly the distinctions between Wondershare and the iBackup Extractor. First we're going to look at the camera roll, and this just shows you a complete list of all the photos that are currently saved by the user in the photos library. And they are all, of course, listed by number. And the good thing is Wondershare makes a distinction between these pictures and the pictures here, which are called message attachments. We saw these earlier in iBackup Extractor, but what it didn't tell you was that these pictures were actually sent to the user as attachments to text messages. So these were actually sent from other people's iPhones. These are the pictures over here that were actually taken by the user and saved directly into the iPhone. So the good thing about Wondershare is that unlike iBackup Extractor, it makes that distinction. And next we will go to Contacts, and this gives you a complete list of all the contacts that the user has in their phone, and you can click on a contact and see their name, number, and any other prevalent information that they have, such as, you know, other numbers or addresses and such the like. And over here we have Messages, and it shows you all the contacts that this user has recently tried to contact. And if you click on a contact, it'll show you all their messages. And the cool thing about this is it actually starts with the least recent messages. It starts you off with the very first message that was made to this contact since the phone was activated. And if you keep scrolling down, then you'll get to more and more and more recent contacts. And as you see, the more that I scroll down, the more recent these text messages become. And if we scroll down all the way to the very last text message, we'll see that the very last one was made on the 19th of April at approximately 11:56 p.m. So that's how text messages work in Wondershare DrFone. Over here we have our call history, which is a log of all the phone calls that were made recently. And of course, again, it's listed the same way as the text messages. The most recent call is at the bottom, and the least recent call, which would be the 104th call, according to this number, here at the top. So the least recent call was made and saved on April 13th at this time. And then these four at the bottom are obviously there are errors in the communication, so please ignore these. This number is not even listed in the database here for this phone. So there will be some slight errors when uploading to this software, but pay them no mind. And over here again we have a similar error with the date. Since this doesn't really exist, it's just, I guess you could call it junk data. And over here we have our 3 notes that were saved into this phone. We have our reminders, we have our voice memos, and we have our Safari bookmarks. Now, if we wanted to, like, say, save all the Safari bookmarks, we would just click on this, we would click Recover, and we would click on Desktop, and we would recover everything. And boom, our own directory is instantly created for us, and all the web page bookmarks are saved into a Safari bookmark, and we have a complete list right here. Now keep in mind that this is very different from the recent web history, which the iBackup Extractor caches for you out of the phone. So keep in mind that this is stuff that the user actually saved onto their phone for reference purposes. So we have that, and that is the complete tutorial on how to use Wondershare and how to get the data that you want. So I hope this tutorial has helped some of you out there. I hope that this project will be prevalent in the future. I've shown you all how to use plist files, how to use database files, how to use SQLite files, and I've shown you a good background on iBackup Extractor and on Wondershare. So hopefully some of you can learn from this project. And I promise you there will be more in the future. Thank you for listening. This has been Alexander Tessero for iBackup Extraction, signing off.